13 is a big year. You're officially a teenager. You start growing a couple more inches, or if you're like me, your growing slowly comes to a stop. Boys start looking okay, friendship starts getting real, and rebellion becomes a constant phase. So when I was 13, I had big dreams. As I'm sure you can tell, I had my fair share of hopes. I hoped I would do well on that pesky algebra exam. I hoped that boy I played Red Rover with on the playground would notice me. I hoped my older sister would let me hang out with her friends. And I hoped that my mom would let us watch a Harry Potter movie marathon again. But what is the point of hoping I did well on this exam if I didn't study? What is the point of hoping that this boy would notice me if I didn't approach him myself? What is the point of hoping that my sister would let me hang out with their friends if I was an absolute angel around them? And what is the point of hoping that my mom would let us watch a Harry Potter movie marathon if I didn't spend the entire day doing unsolicited chores? So what do I mean when I say, I hope? I grew up watching Disney, being infatuated with the stories across the TV screen. Although, as a fighter of norms, I didn't quite dream of being a princess or a model. No, instead, I dreamed of being the president. But nonetheless, I had dreams. And I was inspired by how these dreams went hand in hand with hopes, and how these hopes became synonymous with reality. I was inspired by how Cinderella could dream of her pumpkin carriage and her magical prince, and they would appear with the wave of a wand. So at age 13, I lived as I had been taught to hope, dreaming of magical kisses and fairy tale endings. And in most cases, hope is good, necessary even. But what is hope in the world of terminal illness? Because 5 years ago, when I was 13, my dad was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS. ALS is a neurodegenerative disease, meaning that it breaks down your muscular neurons until you can no longer move. It has no cure, no reversal, and most often predicts death. So 5 years ago, when I was 13, my hopes changed. I no longer could dream of what seemed like silly and naive dreams anymore. All I hoped for was for my dad to get better. I remember when every birthday would roll around and my friends and family would be singing happy birthday around me. And I would close my eyes, waiting till I was expected to blow out the candles and make a wish. And every single time I closed my eyes, I would think, I hope my dad gets better. And I suppose it's taboo to be telling you about my dreams, but I've long since given up on this hope. A well-meaning close friend had even come up to me towards the beginning of his diagnosis. She grasped my hand in hers and told me, "Don't worry, he'll get better." But what does that mean? What does it mean for him to get better? The way I had been taught to hope was inconsistent with my reality. I did hope that he would get better. I hoped that my sister and I don't have to get him ready for work and wheel him to work in a wheelchair. But when he couldn't go to work anymore, I hoped I didn't have to suction the secretions from his mouth or feed him through a tube in his stomach. I hoped that he could run outside with me and not just hobble back and forth between the bedroom and the bathroom. But when he couldn't move anymore, I hoped that he would wake up with a smile. I hoped that I could hold his hand and feel a squeeze back. And I know I'm not alone in these experiences. Tragedy, illness, disability, we are often faced with circumstances where our dreams for our future don't align with our realities. Every single year, 56.8 million people, including 26.7 in their last year of life, are in need of palliative care, meaning end-of-life treatment. In the US, 1 in 4 million people, 61 million Americans, face a disability that impacts major life events, according to the CDC. Everyone deals with these challenges, and often when your reality changes, you don't have the privilege of maintaining these hopes. Everyone deals with challenges you know nothing about. I didn't realize how true this is until I began to experience it myself. So what is the point of sharing my sad story? To show that even for those of us who experience these challenges, hope is still helpful. But we have to reframe our approach to build a more empowering perspective. Often hope is seen as a healthy, necessary perspective. But when I say that I don't have hope that my dad is going to be cured of his diagnosis, does this mean that I have no hope at all? That I'm hopeless? 5 years ago, I may have said yes. Although it's often too difficult for me to revisit the early years of his diagnosis, someone close to me, someone who helped me get through many of those early years, reminded me of a poem I'd written then. And it wasn't of the perspective of someone battling between hopes or warring with acceptance. It was simply sad. It was of someone in pain, and spoke of my dad's eventual death, alluding to an empty bed. My hope wasn't helping me. It wasn't the solution to my problems, it became the problem itself. No matter how many times I stared at my dad's fingers, they wouldn't move. And hoping for anything different was the easy way out. Living with it was harder. My hope was fueling complacency, grief, and pain, and I know I'm not alone in these experiences. And although the pain from 5 years ago remains, I'd like to think that I've grown a bit since then and can offer something a bit more useful. So I began to understand that hope requires action, and hope requires specificity. It isn't simply the setting of intention for a destination, it is a setting of a seed, a setting of intention for a place you know you want to go. Hope isn't some abstract concept where if you don't achieve it, is evidence of your failure. So when I began to hope, I began to take action. I couldn't hope that my dad would get his voice back again, but I could hope to use mine to create awareness through Walks to Defeat ALS. I couldn't hope that my dad would never be sad, but I could hope to create spaces for young adults through support groups with the ALS Association. I learned not to treat hope as a fickle word, but to use it as a commitment to action. So today I have hope. I hope that my dad wakes up with a smile. I hope that he laughs at my self-deprecating jokes. I hope that he can be there for the big moments in my life. I have hope. That's why I text him good morning every morning and sit next to him when I'm home and wait for him to type out, "Good night, my sweet, sweet Joe, I love you." It's why I sit next to him on Sunday mornings and read him The New Yorker and show him the funny cartoons I know he'll love. And it's why I listen to 80s music to memorize the lyrics to his favorite songs. So is hope overrated? 5 years ago, I may have said yes. But I've learned that hope with intention and hope that precedes action is empowering. The last 5 years of my life have made me into the person I am today. And I wouldn't trade sitting next to my dad, reading him The New Yorker, for anything. Thank you.